So let's begin to draw together the threads of what you have gained so far, the understanding that you've gained, and how that applies to the classroom. So I'm kind of looking at the three principles in action in the classroom, an understanding of this life, the way we are, the state of mind that we create for ourselves through our thinking moment to moment. And so just to remind you that we live in the feeling of our thinking, so thoughts are passing through all the time, and then we might have a thought that feels as if we need to focus on it. It kind of gets stuck, it doesn't pass through. And then we feel that this is our reality, and we start to have feelings about it. So if I'm a student at university or a young child in the playground, and something within my world happens, and in that moment, instantly, it changes the way I think. I begin to feel upset, I begin to feel worried, I panic, and I start to have more thinking about that anxiety. I remember a young child rollerblading around the playground one morning, and he was yanked into my office, yanked in to see the principal straight away. Most people have a lovely way of doing things, and I was supporting this school, and they were brought in fighting and kicking with the rollerblades, and I said thank you to the member of staff and asked them to leave the child with me. And he was making rollerblade noises on the floor, and I picked up the telephone and I just said to him, Thomas, that's not his real name, Thomas, I'm just going to go on the phone. Please could you just keep your feet still for a minute? And he did. And so I had this imaginary phone call just so that I could watch him, come down from that anger and angst. And then I put the phone down and I turned to him and said, thank you for that, Thomas. And I went to sit next to him. And we sat together. And he told me of his life, he told me of his night, he told me that he gets thrown out every night at 12, 1 in the morning, and he has to roam the streets. He's 10 years old, he has to roam the streets because his dad gets drunk. And he told me that since I'd gone to the school, that he'd wanted to come every day. And he knew his brother had a set of roller boots. His brother had moved out into another flat 3 miles away. So he walked 3 miles to his brother's flat in the middle of the night, borrowed the roller boots so he could get from his brothers to school on time. Isn't that amazing? And the reason I'm illustrating that is, we could look at the thinking that Thomas has. We did go on to look at the thinking of the member of staff who brought him in the same way, no judgment. Because this is about an understanding, and neither of those two people had this three principles understanding of the way the mind works. So you can touch your life, you can touch your heart, you can touch your own life just by having this understanding. And knowing that thoughts fluctuate moment by moment, and that they pass through, and that we always have innate well-being. It will rise to the surface in the most tragic of circumstances. I was speaking to some three principles facilitators at a conference this weekend, and we were sharing when our state of mind is, it's really down in the dark, it's down in the dumps, and how even when we are in those places, when we feel you know, we're being inspected, we're being accountable, we've got to do testing, we've got all of this going on in teaching, and we might have something going on in our own personal lives. And even in those moments, you can find the wisdom. Actually, you don't even need to look for it, it's there. So as we move through the last section of this segment of the course, and we look at the case studies and your own life in the classroom, and you begin to see how state of mind impacts upon what children do, on how they behave, on how they learn, and on students and youth. And you begin to understand how it impacts on your own life as a teacher in the classroom. And we find ways together of having greater clarity and peace in the classroom. Wouldn't that be amazing? State of mind in the classroom, performance variables. It's not just about the children. It's often about ourselves and the way we are as teachers. This understanding informs everything we do. And when it does, then thoughts will fluctuate, they will go up and down. That's our human experience, and we'll be okay with that. We'll have an understanding. There won't be as much fear and anxiety. We'll be able to teach in the classroom the way we want to teach and still do the tests. I know, because I'm working with schools in the UK and they're doing that. And they're having clarity and peace in their teaching. I wish the same for you in yours.